Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. We gon' come and see about it. Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. Find out nothing sweet about it. Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra read about it.
The Big Woods on the Mic podcast, and we got an LA legend in the building right here. She's been doing radio essentially like your whole life, has been a staple on the West Coast, worked with almost every artist. When I was at the Beat, I was actually, when you were at the Beat, I was doing Street Team, and I did like my first call-in with you, and that was like my first time on LA radio ever.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, it really, really kind of transcended my thought process on, oh damn, I can actually do this, and you made me feel so comfortable, and you've been that
Nice.
yeah, dope, that person that's really helped a lot of people's careers, and you've been that voice. Everybody give it up one time for the Poetess. Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you.
Absolutely,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
And it's so dope because the one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast too, because I don't get an opportunity to speak to a lot of people, especially from our radio background. Like we see each other on, like, you know, online and social media, and
Yeah.
it's like quick little interactions, but this is a good vibe just to chop it up. So how you been? How's everything been?
Everything is good. Just staying busy, minding my own business.
Damn right. Damn right. And the cool thing about you is just like you're one of the few people that's really been doing the medium of just like you obviously you're doing the podcast stuff, and we'll go there in a little bit, but just in terms of just your background in radio, you like you were in radio since like when you were 5 years old, like just about.
Yeah. Thanks to my dad. I mean, he was in radio at a very young age. He really started at 12, but got into radio professionally at 16. So when you read that I started at 5, I was just actually doing radio promos for KDIA in the Bay Area.
Okay.
So I guess that is the first time I was officially on air.
I mean, yeah, I mean, at 5 years old, I was making a mess in Tonka trucks and getting on my mom's nerves. But you know what I mean? But you over here voicing commercials and spots and all that.
It took my dad a lot to do it. I mean, I wasn't just like jumping. I was very shy, so it took a lot for him to get me to do it. But I did it. I actually remember that. So
That's crazy. So you're originally from the Bay?
I'm from the Bay Area.
Okay. And then what part of the Bay are you from?
I've lived everywhere from, I grew up I was born in Daly City, which is, I think, kind of maybe south of San Francisco or north, I don't know. Went to high school in Redwood City. I know a lot of people might not consider that the Bay, but I did spend my summers in Oakland with my dad. And I even lived in East Palo Alto, and now my mom lives in Vallejo.
Oh, that's what's up. And the Bay just has this like dope history of just radio jocks. Like the Bay and Seattle really have like a dope history of radio. And then like you had, I think like Kevin Nash is from the Bay. I think like all these folks are from the Bay.
I don't think yeah, Kevin Nash is. I thought you meant, I'm thinking Kevin Slow Jam and Jam.
Oh yeah, Jam. I think he's from out here.
Yeah, Kevin Nash is from the Bay.
Yeah.
A lot of people that were at the Beat early on were from the Bay Area.
Yeah, no doubt. And then for you, especially with your dad doing radio, was that something that you were initially just like passionate about, or did you grow into the passion of just talking to folks?
Well, I wanted to be in the entertainment business, but at first it wasn't radio. I wanted to be a performer, I wanted to be an artist, and then I ended up being a rapper and recording an album on poetic group Interscope. But I was offered the opportunity through Lee Bailey with Radioscope and to host a nationally syndicated hip hop show. and that was in 1989, and I loved it. I started doing interviews and getting into journalism and writing and producing radio uh, shows for Lee Bailey, like the syndicated, doing part of the interviews for the Hip Hop Countdown and Report. And so it wasn't something I said I want to do. It was offered to me, but I think it was sort of destined to be that way. So, especially with my dad being the radio person he was and radio legend he was, I think it was kind of in my blood to follow in the footsteps. So,
Absolutely. And the thing's so crazy because your name, the Poetess, right? And so you had had that, he had the record deal. Talk, because I didn't really know that side of the artist side of you. First of all, how'd you get the name the Poetess? And then talk to me about the music side, what you were doing musically.
the Poetess came from my love of writing poetry. I was writing poetry at a very young age, and it was just at the time that I did start like putting my poetry to music, there was no other poetesses out there. So, I snatched up the name. I mean, no one had
Hey,
to name the Poetess. I mean, there's poetesses that were in history way before me, Maya Angelou and Nikki Giovanni and so on and so on. So, Phyllis Wheatley.
right.
But I thought the name was fitting. And so I started my rap career before my radio career. I was a rapper, and I was working with Def Jeff and kind of around with Rhyme Syndicate. I wasn't officially a part of the Rhyme Syndicate, but they were family. So shout out to Ice-T, by the way, who just got
Yes.
a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Congratulations.
Yep. So I was really embedded into hip hop as an MC. And then after I recorded my first album, I was offered a job at 92.3 The Beat. I wasn't offered a job right away. Michael Mixon Moore had me come in and do a little hip hop report with Ems and Mike Nardone. And from that, then a few months later, I was offered a job to be an official on-air personality at the Beat.
That's
So
dope. And then like, what was your style like lyrically and all that? Just,
I
I
was a
mean,
conscious rapper.
okay.
I kicked consciousness. I wasn't really doing, too much ratchetness, but at that time in the 90s, there was a lot of conscious hip hop, but there was also a bigger variety of hip hop. There was your conscious rap, there was your gangster rap, there was your booty dancing rap.
Everything. Yeah, I think
You
the
have
late,
more to choose from,
you
and I
really did.
liked all the categories. But now it kind of seems like, although it's not one type of rap, even today, you only really hear in the mainstream a certain kind of rap music.
These
So
certain sound, because like everybody's kind of using the same producers, and back then everybody like took like pride in having a unique sound, which I
yeah,
thought was dope. Like the late 80s, the early
yeah,
90s, it was just like, okay, who can sound as, Eric Sermon sounded like Eric Sermon, Diddy sounded
yeah,
like Diddy, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like Snoop
You
sounded like
had
Snoop.
you had to be original, or you were considered whack or a biter.
Exactly. Exactly. And then you had some dope label mates. And actually I want to get to that. Like what, like the female artists today, I mean, what do you like, the Cardis, the Megans, the Gorillas? Like what's your thoughts on just, female MCs today?
I think it's a lot of the females today are very empowered. I like that. I mean, and they're making more money and having more opportunities than female rappers had when I was rapping and MCing. But I think it's a good thing. I really like with my girl, Megan Thee Stallion,
Mm-hmm.
and Sampa the Great.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people may not have heard of her, but she's freaking amazing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more female rappers are getting more opportunities these days. It does seem like with the female rappers, you're only really kind of seeing one type of female rapper, so to speak. But again, I'm just glad that, you know, these women are getting an opportunity and getting more opportunities than ever before. So
Absolutely. And then the biggest thing that I'm noticing too, because a lot of it is the same type of music, but we're getting to the point to where we're almost not distinguishing, you know, female rap from male rap, right? So like when I hear a Cardi record or I hear, it's not like I'm saying, okay, I'm expecting anything different from like what the dudes are doing either. It's just it's all this level of just what that the music genre is for right now, which I think is
yeah, I
dope.
think you just kind of really kind of nowadays you have to dig for different kind of hip hop. I mean,
Right.
a lot of the good hip hop that I've come across, I've actually just happened to hear listening to a streaming channel.
Mm-hmm.
But there's excellent hip hop music out there. Even some of the stuff that's on mainstream radio is all right.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, you kind of dig under the surface for the better hip hop music.
Absolutely.
It's
And
more
what
underground now too.
yeah, what underground were you ever a part of like the Lamert Park, like the Project Blow and all that stuff? Were you ever did you ever experience any of that stuff?
I wasn't a part of Project Blow, but I did rap one time at the Good Life,
Okay.
and didn't get booed or thrown off the stage.
Right.
But I did have that honor,
That's
and
dope.
of course, I mean those are my fellow MCs, my fellow. I mean, much respect to Project Blowed and Freestyle Fellowship and Medusa and just so many talented MCs and DJs that were really doing their thing back then.
Absolutely. And for those that don't know, like Project Blow out here in LA was just like a West Coast underground spot where all like the dopest lyricists came together. So if you were there, you jumped on the mic, you better have something to say and it better be fly because they get you out of there real quick
Yeah, you
and
get booed.
you
I
get
think I
booed.
heard that Fat Joe got booed at the Good Life one
God
time.
damn.
Yeah, I think I heard
He
that
had to
story.
lean back out the door. That's you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because you weren't allowed to cuss.
Right,
So
right.
I think he might have slipped out a cuss word or something. I don't know.
Man, that'll do it. That'll definitely do. And
Yeah.
did you what did you because I think Ava DuVernay did a special about that. Did you have a relationship with her?
Um, Later on, when she became a publicist, um, I knew her, but she was also an MC in that whole era, in that whole circle of rappers. I forget the name of her group, but she too was a rapper, and I think she had another female partner is her you know, her co-rapper, I guess. But
Mhm.
I got to know Ava more when she was a publicist, and then early in her filmmaking, because I kind of helped her to get some of the females that were in my Mike Sounds Nice documentary.
Mhm.
So yeah, but big ups to Ava DuVernay, straight out of this neighborhood. I'm on Crenshaw right now. My studio is on Crenshaw, so I'm just happy
Hey,
to still be a part of this community in a major way. So
absolutely. And you know, even though like the Shaw is, I wouldn't even say hanging on, but like as much as the gentrification process is happening over there, it feels like people are still like, nah, be like we about to make sure that it don't go that direction.
no,
And
they got a movement over here where people are trying to, you know, keep the block, you know,
mm-hmm,
buy the block, not
mm-hmm.
just lease it and keep your business here, but actually purchasing the properties in this area. So
Absolutely,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, so we trying to hang on to this little piece of land over here.
Yeah, and as a chick, 'cause I mean, there's a certain essence that it just wouldn't be the same without it. What was your relationship? Because like Pac was a label mate at the time when you were rapping.
Mm-hmm.
What was your relationship with Tupac?
Me and Pac were cool. I'm good friends to this day with Money B, and that's really where I met Pac, was through Digital Underground.
Mhm.
So we didn't do a lot together, even though we were label mates, and it was just a mutual respect. Pac was cool. Um, he just had such a major impact. I don't think we knew at the time what an impact he would have, damn near forever and so many
Right.
years after his passing. But we had a mutual respect, and whenever I saw Pac, it was all love.
You remember any conversations you had with them? Did you guys ever talk about rapping or anything like that?
I interviewed him in New York during the new music seminar one, was it new music seminar? It was one of those music conventions out in New York, and just kind of asked him what he was up to. And then at that time, him and Biggie and Stretch were really close. So but I think that's maybe one of the times that I've really, really had a chance to like sit down and or have a few words with Pac. I've been to his video shoot when he did his first video shoot, Trapped. I brought
Mhm.
my two little brothers there that are lifelong Pac fans.
Right,
And like I said, it's just always been cool, but we didn't never really hang out.
right.
Whenever we did see each other was all love. And I do have a short interview that I did with him back in 93, I think.
That's
Something like that.
crazy. That's so crazy because you guys like, being label mates and just being with Pac and just kind of seeing the transition. And so now, we move to like the beat, and that's where I met you. And the beat was such an incredible station because I think when it comes to LA radio, the beat is almost forgotten. We talk about K-Day, shout to K-Day, we talk about, Hot 97 and all those, but the beat seems to be this forgotten gem. What was your experience at the beat, and tell me some of your favorite memories and just the energy, the vibe, because it was a vibe for sure. Mhm.
The beat job was my second, I'll say three, the third maybe major time in my life. I mean, like in terms of having the best gigs, because I also worked with Jamie Foxx's The Foxhole on Sirius XM just after I resigned from the beat. And then my other one was just my rap career, being able to travel around the country and perform. So, but the beat, I have so many treasured memories. I was at the beat 13 years. I started um in 1993, but I got officially hired in 94. Like I hung around, I got put on in October, and then I was hired that January. And always was a part-time DJ there, but I covered every air shift there, and I outlasted um every employee there.
Right. Because I would always, that's how I would just, I knew your voice, like when I was, when I was a listener at the beat, but I would always just kind of hear you just not only weekends, but sometimes middays. And it was just always just that comforting sound of just knowing, like, okay, it was like you were like kind of like one of the voices of LA. So you kind of knew that, okay, this is the soundtrack of my weekend, or this is the soundtrack of my day. What are some of those memories at the beat and your relationships with a lot of the jocks and artists and all that stuff?
um I got the opportunity to interview so many celebrities, and when I became the community affairs director there, so many politicians and community advocates that I still have relationships with till this day because I worked at the Beat and because I gave them a voice. If anybody had something positive to say or anything that they can do to help the community, they can be on my show. It was that simple. One thing I think that separated me from a lot of the jocks is that the PD program director always kind of let me do what I want to do, play what I want to play. They gave me my own specialized shows. I produced all my shows that I did there. I had a couple shows there and a couple of community affairs programs there, and they just kind of gave me the freedom to, play what I want and have whoever I want on my show. I broke Sugar Free. I broke the group Next.
Oh, wow.
Erica Badu. I was the first one in LA to play On and On by Erica Badu.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And yeah, so it was just the Beat. Still to this day, people who grew up in LA know me from the Beat. I was somewhere just recently and someone said, I know your voice.
Right.
So yeah, it was one of the best times of my life. I seen it go through many transitions over the years, different ownerships, different air teams, and the whole nine. So
And what was it? And so what's the story with Sugar Free? So how did that happen when you broke that relationship? Tell me about that.
my friend Fade Duvernay
Okay.
was working that record, and he asked me would I interview Sugar Free. I didn't know who he was, but Fade was the homie. So I did. And then he just became really a Southern California artist, because even today not that many people have heard of Sugar Free. But in LA, pretty much everybody has heard of Sugar Free.
Yeah, he's like a staple. Like there's certain spots you go to.
He's amazing. I mean,
he's dope as hell.
That first album was a banger.
Yeah.
And he's just talented, and yeah, so we had him on the show. I interviewed him on my Saturday morning show, and that's how that's how the Sugar Free thing happened. So
and then at that point, did he just like go like, because I know like he's hella hood famous. Like if you go to spots out here in LA, like the GS, the Savoy, like you play baby,
yeah,
like it's crazy, like and at that point, was that like the liaison to Sugar Free having such a great relationship with the Beat? Because then I heard it with DJ Quick and the Theos, and so he was almost a part of like the voice of the Beat also.
Yeah, I think when Sugar Free came around, it was later. It wasn't really when I don't remember exactly, but I think he might have been after Theo.
Okay.
But of course the connection is DJ Quick, and Quick was a part of the station for a long time.
Most definitely. And then Next, what's the story with Next?
Next, my little studio cat. Next was also, I forget who was working that record, but man, they had a hit record.
Wifey, or was it?
No, it was
Too Close.
Too Close, yeah. And it was already, I was able to tell what records were pretty high. And then I also broke the Avila brothers. They're not really a household name, but PJ Butter.
Yeah, I remember him playing them a lot.
Playing them in heavy rotation, but I'm the one that brought them to the station and discovered them or through a friend while I was in New York. And now the Avila brothers are major producers that work with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. They work with Janet Jackson and Usher, and so they've gone on to be very successful producers. So, but yeah, the beat has, man, is a part of my story, and people still today remember me from the
Do
beat.
you remember your first on-air shift? Like, was at the beat?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that like? Because I know that's always an interesting story to me. Like, you ain't never been on the radio, then they toss you, and now
Oh
you're
yeah,
here.
and it's funny because Michelle Sanatuso was I think the music director or assistant PD at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me, did I want the job? And I was like, yeah. She goes, okay, you're gonna start in 2 weeks, but it's up to you to learn the board and all of that. So I sat in with Captain G, rest in peace, because the other jocks, they weren't as open to showing me how to use the board. But the thing with Captain G was he was on from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So I had to come in during that time
Right.
to learn the board and all of that. And subsequently, I ended up being in that time slot when he passed away. But so I learned the board. And so I'm thinking I got another week or so, and I get a call at like 1:30, 1:45 in the morning. They're like, where are you? I'm like, I'm not supposed to start till next week. They go, no, you're supposed to start tonight. I was
What?
like, oh my God, I didn't have a car. So I had to take a cab to work at 2 in the morning. And Lisa Canning was on before me. And she was talking so much shit about me. I didn't even know her like that.
Right.
I knew her from K-Day, but when I got there, I finally got there, I was nervous and everything. But people were like calling me up saying, Lisa was talking so bad about you.
And she was saying this on the air?
She was saying this on the air. What, how is she late? She doesn't have a car. I mean, like, she was just going in on me, and people didn't like it. They didn't like it. And so the rest is history. I did that, and I was on every weekend doing overnights. I didn't have a car.
And then how did the shift go? Like, was the shift good? Was it mistakes, or did it run smooth?
I don't know all the details, but I'm sure I was sounding real green, real brand new.
And but I mean, 13 years later, I mean, you were still there. And then what was the energy between you and Lisa Cannon after that? Was it bad energy, or was it just a bad day?
Um, I'm not gonna say we were like hangout buddies or anything, but it was respect after that. I think I might have even said something to her, because that was the thing about me at the beat, is that I spoke my mind. I wasn't an ass kisser, so I kind of felt that every day was gonna be my last day. Every day I felt like I was gonna get fired every single day, because I was always checking people, um, and just speaking my mind and not, clicking up with folks. And so I thought, because of that, that I was gonna get fired one day.
And no, and trust me, I know the feeling. Getting that's one of the.
But I ended up leaving on my own terms and when I was ready. So
What did you have to check folks about? What was going on at the station that was where folks were acting funny?
we had a promotions director that thought she could talk to me any kind of way. Even Theo threatened to get me fired a couple times, because I wasn't one of his fan club. So And then he was telling people if she don't get her attitude together, she's gonna get fired. So I went to the Keith Naftali, who was the program director at the time, and I said, Theo going around telling people I'm gonna get fired, like, you know. And he said, don't worry about Theo, he's a diva. And I said, okay. And I outlasted Theo.
Yeah, that's crazy. Cause yeah, Theo, you know, we I don't know where Theo's at right now, but yeah.
Yeah, I said I was gonna do a documentary called "Where's Theo?" because everywhere I go, people asking me, "Where's Theo?"
Exactly. Every episode of this show, I'm like, I got a Theo story. And I still don't know where he's at. So Theo, if you out there, holla at your boy. And then the rest of the jocks, like the morning show people, Diana Steele, Who
Oh my God,
Jeezy,
I
Kevin.
love Diana Steele. I love the morning show, even though they were controversial. John London and the House Party was the best morning show the Beat had, even better than Steve Harvey's. And those were some fun times. That's when the Beat had a lot of money to spend and do events and, you know, pay for shit. So the early days when Craig Wilburn was the general manager, those were some of the best days.
Yeah, it was like a different synergy there, because like it was, the jocks were dope. Then you just had artists just passing by and just kind of do. Who were some of your favorite interviews at the station, that who you interviewed at the Beat?
Man, I mean, just about everybody. Man, I can't even, anybody that was hot in the 90s to the early 2000s, I've interviewed that has come through the Beat. And then, you know, I hung around on the Wake Up Show and a lot of the mix shows. So I've interviewed a lot of people, and a lot of those interviews I still have archived.
Right. And for you, at the Beat, at a certain point the transition happened, then you actually, you retire, and then not retire, but you resign. What made you want to resign from the Beat?
They changed so much. They went from V100, and I think that they skewed too old. So the demographic changed drastically. And I wanted to be a part of the morning show. And I think it was the time when John Sally was doing the morning show, or Cliff Winston, I think. And I wanted to be on the morning show with community news. And the program director at the time thought that was a ridiculous idea. And I just said, well, if you're not going to promote me, I'm going to quit. And I just quit. I had been there 13 years. I had a good gig going at Sprint, mobile, producing content. And then soon as I quit it, like 6 months later, Jamie Foxx offered me a job at the Foxhole. So it was time for me to go. And then 6 months after that, the station, they sold the station, and there was no more V100. There was no more 92.3 The Beat as we knew it. So
Right.
I jumped ship right on time.
Yeah,
So
like the bridge was right there, and such an iconic time at the Beat, and obviously, we can't be there forever because the medium doesn't stay the same forever, but
hey,
amazing memories.
to be at a station 13 years on air, that is quite an accomplishment, because most jocks 5 years is the life there
Right.
at a major market station,
Right.
with the exception of somebody like Big Boy.
Yeah.
Uh, the average jock life on air is short.
It really is, and just because it becomes so political, unless you have your own brand. So tell me about your relationship with Jamie Foxx, and then how did he reach out to you? How did that relationship evolve?
Me and Jamie have been friends since the late 80s, early 90s. He sang on my album, and I rapped on his first album. And so he started a network at Sirius XM called the Foxhole. And then there was this episode he did with Superhead. And I heard that episode and I was like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard on radio. And so I called Jamie. I was like, Jamie, that shit is crazy. Like, wow. And so he said, come by the show. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then I seen another host from the show, Speedy, and Speedy said the same thing, come by the show. So one Friday I came by the show. And when I got there, it was no organization. They didn't really have a producer. They were just all over the place talking shit about everything. And Jamie was like, sit at the table with us. And so I kind of did what's natural to me and was kind of like organizing the show and adding to the show. So after that first day I stopped by, Jamie asked me would I be a part of the show. And he was like, I don't have any money to pay you right now, but I would love you to be a part of our team. And I was like, hell yeah, because it was so much fun.
Right.
Coming up there on a Friday and there's food and drinks and you celebrities and you're just having a good time. And then 6 months later, I was hired to be a producer of like 5 of the shows on the network. And it turned out to be like my highest paying job and the most fun ever. I got to travel around the country a few times with Jamie and with the radio show. And it was fun. I got paid to have fun, basically. And so
Yeah.
me and Jamie have been friends for a long time, still friends. And then they decided, I guess, to not re-up on bringing the Foxhole back. So, but that's how that started.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy because I would listen to Foxhole Radio and some of the shows. I mean, you can still hear them on YouTube and all that. I mean, like some of the classic. It's the craziest nigga shit you probably ever hear. I mean, crazy. I remember they had a roast session with Kevin Hart before Kevin was big.
Oh yeah. I was there that day. That was
Okay.
so much fun. It's so much funny. Yeah, that was so funny. Yes.
It was. I mean, was it because they're talking about like most of it was them trying to get on Kevin struggling as a comic, and it's so crazy to listen to that because now he's like the biggest brand. They're like, man, you can't fill up shows and
Yeah, he
like
was
going
bagging
in
on
how
everybody. He was killing everybody in the studio that day.
he was, and that's how he got. Like for me, that's why I was like, oh my god, he got everybody, and that's for me was like, okay, he's the real. This dude is, he went through the trenches because if you could come out of Foxhole where everybody's coming at you, it that made you, really there. And shout out to Claudia Jordan, she was there also, right?
Yeah, Claudia. Mm-hmm.
She and that's why her chops to be there also was crazy. What and do you talk to Kevin Hart or you guys talk about a lot of that stuff or?
I don't really see Kevin Hart. I'm sure if I saw him, it would be, he would remember me, I guess. And no, I haven't really seen Kevin in a while, but I will say I do enjoy Real Husbands of Hollywood. Because like all the homies write on that show too, Johnny Mack and Chris Spencer. So no, I'm very happy for Kevin Hart. Yeah,
that's dope. I mean, and it's just so crazy. What's like some of your best memories from Foxhole, as far as like the craziest stuff? Because that show was, to me, it made me think about just radio, like podcast and rate, just a different vibe. Because I heard crazy stuff. I never heard it like that, like black folks doing. Like I never heard anything like that before. For you, was there any moments that really stood out for you at Foxhole?
Just being on the road. That was fun. We went around the country 2 or 3 times, meeting the fans, just being out with Jamie, because at the time Jamie had an album out too with Blame It on the Alcohol. And just there was never a dull moment. We got to even go to the DNC when President Barack Obama was nominated. So, I mean, those were some of the best times ever, to be honest. Shout out to
Yeah.
Jamie.
Yeah, shout out to Jamie doing this. He's one of those few people that are kind of good at damn near everything. You know what I mean? Like he comedy, broadcasting,
Mm.
singing, yeah, act like I mean, like he's one of them few people, and to be a part of something like that, and what he did was just it's just I mean, it's a staple. And now you've taken it to the next level with Morris Media and your studio and the podcast. I've known so many people that's coming out of that. I mean, it's a staple out here in LA. Talk more about Morris Media. Mm.
Well, shortly after I left the Foxhole, I saved up a lot of my money when I was working with them, and I ended up having to live off of it because after that job, it was shit had already kind of changed in radio, um and shout out to Sway, because Sway got me a couple of MTV gigs and some gigs to hold me over. And then I just decided that I was doing a podcast with my former Foxhole co-host, and we were paying studios to be there. And then I just got the bright idea that, me and my dad should start a studio. My dad knows how to build one. In fact, um, we built the first one, the RMC, um, Roscoe's Media Center on Pico, that was owned by the guy who owns Roscoe's.
Okay.
And we built a studio there. And I worked there 8 months, got that studio up and running. And I didn't like the owner too much. So I decided that, at some point I just wanted to do me and my dad to have our own studio. So I went out on a journey with that, with my savings, couple of crowdfunding campaigns, and that's how I got it started. But the first few years was definitely a hard struggle and a lot of sacrifice. And so I found a building here in Lamert Park, right across the street from the park and right across the street from the old K-Day.
Yes, what's up?
It's a old recording studio from the 90s, so everything was already built in, the soundproofing and all of that. It was like it was waiting for me to come. And so we've been doing podcasts here, going on 9 years this year.
Congratulations.
And we've had a lot of people here from the community, a lot of politicians, a lot of celebrities. Miss Hughes came early in our beginnings and supported.
Wow.
Tiffany Haddish has been here. We've been here for a minute, still growing, still trying to expand. So
that's crazy too, because it's just like, yeah, so many different people. Like even Armand, he was at the beat. He says he records there. Like you said, Tiffany Haddish. I didn't know that she used to call the radio station up back in the day. Like she had her own thing. What's your relationship with Tiffany Haddish?
Tiffany remembers me from the beat. When I first met her, she was saying she used to, listen to me when I was there, and then how she ended up being here. Well, she was actually on one of the podcasts that I produced early on when we first started here. But then Netflix wanted her to do a voiceover, and she told Netflix that in order for her to do it, she would have to do it at a Black-owned studio. And then she referred them to my studio. And it was during COVID, so I had to get COVID safety compliant. And she came here and done a couple projects. So
that's
shout
it.
out to Tiffany. Yeah.
That's dope. And I mean, you've had just about everybody there, just been a staple for you, just a medium of podcasting and just seeing new talent. Like, what's your thoughts on like the game as far as like the podcasting medium? Do you like it better than traditional broadcasting? And who are some of like the people that you're seeing that you're like, oh shit, this is dope?
I think out of all the mediums, I might like internet less. I hate to say that because some of my best times was in traditional radio and satellite radio.
Right.
But what I do, and I'm not saying I dislike the internet or dislike because that's what I do.
Right.
I'm just saying the different, it's just different. The thing with podcasting, you have the freedom to express and have the kind of podcast that you want to have without worrying about a program director or any of that, the politics of it. To me, podcasting is internet radio. And what a lot of people don't understand is that a podcast is also a production that you prepare for. It's not just saying, I'm going to do a podcast and jump on the mic. A lot of people fail when they think it's that simple. I mean, I've had people come in here just unbelievable, not knowing a thing about podcasting. And we teach people, we counsel, we do consultations, we show people how to do it properly.
Okay, that's what's up.
And so yeah, this is what I do. I think the next level is maybe hopefully soon is opening up a learning center here for young people to learn podcasting, and also to expand the different locations, and maybe even having a Black Talk network. So those are some of the things that are in the vision.
Yeah, and I mean, you have the cornerstone, and you have it at like the perfect location, and yeah. Would you ever consider having any of the podcasts like go on the road or anything? Like, because I know Armand, he does his stuff on the road every so often. I know same thing with Foxo when they did it. Would you ever consider doing some of that?
Yeah, I'm producing Louis Sticks and TDP and Jeff Arnold and Dan and Green. We have a podcast called In a Man's World, and a lot of our Foxhole fans follow that show. So yeah, we would be down to do it live somewhere. We're not at that point yet, I don't think. But yeah, why not? You know, those doing the show live back in the day was fun. So
I think it'd be I think it would even be dope to have something at Leimert Park, just because Leimert is a vibe, just doing something there, you know.
Yeah, we can do something right in the front. Like we have a front area in the building, but we do all our podcasting and stuff in the back. But yeah, we can open up the windows and sit there and do a podcast and watch people walk by.
Absolutely. You know? It's always a vibe. And if somebody was really trying to get into the game, I mean, because the first thought is that, you know, the podcasting market is kind of saturated or whatever. And for somebody that's been doing it successfully and broadcasting in every medium for such a long time, like what would you tell somebody that was trying to get in the game and make it happen?
Figure out what your niche or your specialty is. In podcasting, you can't be everything to everybody. So figure out what your lane is and target that audience, and treat it like a real production. Make sure that you have good equipment, and that you are posting on some type of regularity, and on most of all, if not all, as many podcasting platforms as you can get on, and try to create interesting content that's gonna inspire, entertain, educate, or inform an audience. A lot of people get on these podcasts and they ain't talking about shit.
Right.
When people are listening to your podcast, the question is, what's in it for me? Why am I going to sit here for 30 minutes or an hour or 2 hours listening to you?
Right.
Are you going to entertain me? Are you going to educate me on something? You're going to give me some information that's going to help me? I mean, you can't be selfish as a podcaster. You got to always be thinking about your audience.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, that was a lot of, you know, that's kind of like, even doing terrestrial radio, it was always like that too. You know, it was just like, okay.
It was about community. Terrestrial radio was about community.
Yeah.
Now I don't know what it's about.
Me neither. I couldn't tell you. You know, it's the same four. I not, you know, same four songs, and it's a whole different thing. You know, so however, you know, we had the opportunity to really be at, you know, at the time where it meant something, and so that's why these conversations are so dope, because you really had people that were passionate like yourself about really making things happen in the community, really touching, and still being in the community to this point, and giving, you know, still giving people an opportunity, which I think is absolutely amazing. So yeah, man, salute to you, the Poetess. Where can everybody find you, your socials, all that good stuff?
OG Poetess on Instagram, and then morrismediastudios.com, or Morris Media Studios everywhere, and thepoetess.com.
And for Morris Media people, they can just, if you're just around the world, they can just they can call you. You do consultations, you do everything, like everything under the
We
sun.
do consultations, and then people can come in and rent the space. We rent it out by the hour. We stream live, so if people want to stream live on their platforms, they can do it here. We also do audio books and voiceover. So yeah, and then just hit us up, morrismediastudios.com.
That's what's up. That is what's going on. Congratulations to success, and just really just being a huge part of my journey. Also, just kind of really transitioning my space to the one, the only. Give it up one more time for the Poetess.
Thank you, B Woods.
Absolutely.